Good morning one more time. We're back again, giving the Most High God, Allah, all praise. Now when I say Allah, don't get it twisted, I ain't Muslim. I'm a Hebrew from the tribe of Judah. And Allah just means the Most High God, the one and only. People get that confused and think that's Muslim. But if you break down the word, it comes from the word Elah. Elah means God with a small g. So there's a lot of Elahs. But there's only one Allah. That's God with a capital G. So don't get it twisted. So anyway, I am a Hebrew. So that means all of my relatives are Hebrews. That means all of everyone that came up before me was a Hebrew. We are from the tribe of Judah, from West Africa. Came down from Jerusalem, somewhere in 66 AD, into Africa. Was sold into slavery. We came to Georgia and into Mississippi, into the Sycamore, Georgia area, which is South Georgia. We were held slaves, my mother's side of the family. My father's side of the family was held slaves in central Mississippi, Kosciuszko, Mississippi. I don't know much about my mother's side. I know my grandmother was part Blackfoot Indian. So there was some intermingling of the races. You had the black Indians, and then you had the Hebrews. And so the black Indians, we're going to say what we think they were from the tribe of Gad. So therefore they're still Israelites. The same legendary people of the Bible. That's who we come from. Don't let nobody tell you different. All the men in our family, we should be wearing beards. You notice my beard is not long, but we should be wearing beards because this is what the Most High God commanded us to do as men. Now, to give you a little bit of history about me. My name is Michael Simpson, middle initial E. Come from the parents of Edward Simpson, Annie West, who were married in Detroit, Michigan. I was born in Detroit, Michigan at Wayne County Hospital. I've got two sisters, one brother, and one cousin who lived with us until he was 17 years old, so he is little brother, Damian Beard. So I want him to have a copy of this also, because he is also a part of our intimate family, immediate family. He knows the Simpson part of the family because he lived around them in Oakland, California. We left Kosciuszko. We left Wayne County after I was born. Went to Kosciuszko, Mississippi when I was about 2 years old. Short time after that, we moved with the rest of our family to Northern California. And that's the Simpson family, the west side of the family, my mother's side of the family. They stayed in Florida. They were Georgians from Sycamore, Georgia, and they migrated down to Miami. So all my sisters and brothers went down to Miami. All my father, sisters and brother, and my mother went to Northern California, to Oakland, California. So I am a product of Northern California, Oakland, California, and I am very much that. I stayed there until I was 22 years old. Then I went to college in Mississippi. Then after college, I went to Miami until I stayed for a little more than 30 years. So I guess I'm more Miamian than California because I spent the majority of my living adult years in Miami, in the Liberty City area. So you hear about the Poke and Beans, Liberty City, Overtown, North Miami, Miami Beach. This is where I lived at the majority of my life. So I'm surprised you don't see me with goals in my mouth. I had 8 goals on the top, 7 goals on the bottom. probably get some goals again before I die. Put them on the bottom this time. I don't think I'm gonna have tops anymore. But anyway, I got a sister after me, Marsha, who now lives in Orlando, Florida. I got a sister, a brother that was after her. He is schizophrenic and lives in Miami, Florida. And I have a sister, baby sister, Edwina, who lives in Georgia. And then Damien, who now lives in the great state of California, in Southern California. Fantastic fellow with a fantastic wife by the name of Heaven. Isn't that something, the name Heaven? Here's my face without glasses. I wear glasses to see, and I have these are shock resistant glasses for work. Family tree. My grandmother's, my father's name is Edward. He had, 2 sisters and 7 brothers. Of them, he had 3 sisters and 7 brothers. 3 sisters and 6 brothers. 3 sisters and, I don't know, it's 6 boys and 3 girls total. So all the brothers are dead except for one, which is Glenn. So let's see if I can name all the brothers from eldest to youngest. All the brothers from eldest to youngest is James, Edward, my father, Jack, Glenn. Jack's name actually was Charles. Called him Jack. Let's see who I said. Clarence, John, and then Glenn, the youngest child. John became a preacher after living the life of Riley. I remember one time we asked Mother, why is John so religious? He said, son, because he was so bad when he was young, he feel he got to run double time now just to catch up and get on the Lord's good side. So that's why he was so religious. We were, our grandmother's side of the family are Methodists out of Kosciuszko, Mississippi. I can't remember the name of the church, which my aunt and cousins still go. We've been a member of that church for close to 100 years. Let's see. I believe my grandfather's name is on the cornerstone of that church also. The sisters on my father's side, you had Ruby, Sarah, and the youngest Margaret Ann, who was my favorite aunt, or is my favorite aunt. I love her dearly. Might think otherwise, but I do. Grandmother's name was Annie D. West. Interesting enough, my grandmother's name was Annie D. Bridges. My mother's name was Annie B. West. And when they both got married, they became Annie Simpson. So we had my grandmother Annie D. Simpson and my mother Annie B. Simpson. My grandfather was James Simpson. I don't know his father's name. I don't know much about his side of the family. But I can tell you about my grandfather. He was mixed. He was his father was a Hebrew from Memphis, Tennessee. And his mother was a Caucasian Edomite from Mississippi. His mother's family wouldn't take him, so he was raised with his grandparents in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. He married my grandmother, who was raised in town in Kosciuszko, and her sisters and brothers were raised in the country. She went to high school. She had a privileged life. She went to high school all the way to the 9th grade, which during that time was pretty much the equivalent of a college degree. Because at that time, most children only went to the third grade because they had to work in the fields. You know, they were sharecropping back then. So during the time of planting and harvesting, all the children had to get out the field, get out of school and come work in the field, of which my grandmother was afforded not to be able to do that, not to have to do that, because she went and lived with her aunts and uncles in town, of which she was afforded a good life and became educated. After she graduated from school, she taught school a little bit, but after she got married, she became a nanny and raised white children. And she raised white children. My grandfather worked in the cleaners in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, and he taught all his children how to do cleaners, how to work in the cleaners. Jack worked in the cleaners when he got to California, and Aunt Ruby continued working in the cleaners while still in Kosciuszko. James went up to Detroit. My father followed him up to Detroit. Clarence went to college. He graduated from Russ College, of which that is my alma mater. I graduated from Russ College. I have a bachelor's degree in science, biology. I got a master's degree in computer science, information technology, and a master's degree in health service administration. My sisters and brothers, I told you who they are. So now you know your grandparents. My mother's mother's name is Fredonia West. She was a missionary of her church, and she had her father. His name was Oscar West, and he was a gardener. When they left Georgia and went to Miami, and most of their sisters and brothers went to Miami. Let's see, you had Oscar. Oscar Jr., he was a preacher. He learned to preach in the Korean War. He practiced his preaching in the Korean War. He used to say he used to stand on the tanks and preached to the insects. Then after he left the army, he came and went to Detroit along with his eldest sister, Elle, who was in Detroit, who my mother went up to Detroit and followed Elle. Elle used to say, wherever she went, my mother was sure to follow. So that's how my father and mother came to meet in Detroit. My father's oldest brother, James, went to Detroit, and my mother's oldest sister, Elle, went to Detroit, and they met in Detroit. My father was a parking lot attendant. I don't know what my mother did working up there. So that's so far. That's that. Let's see. Okay, my father's had his sisters and brothers were. I did name all them. My mother's sisters and brothers was Uncle Oscar. We used to call him Rev. I can't think of his nickname, but all I know is we call him Rev because he was a preacher. His oldest sister's name was Reen. After Reen, you had, let's see, Aunt Johnny, Aunt Mary, who was Elle, Aunt Geneva. Geneva was a doctor, had a doctorate in theology. Aunt Johnny was a retired registered nurse. Let's see, Reen, I think she had a doctorate in education. But I can't remember other sisters and brothers. But anyway, that's both sides of the parents' families. Now, when I go back past the parents' families, all I can remember is my father's side of the family, because that is who I was raised with in California. So the first free person in our family, and you have to excuse me because I'm driving. I'm an over-the-road truck driver now. I drive a chemical tanker, and I'm on my way to Florida right now from St. Louis. My father's side of the family, the first free man in our family, his name was Mr. Dabbs. That's all I know. He was born in probably 1852 and 1865. At the age of 13, he was set free. He went to Meridian, Mississippi, married an Indian woman. She was the first free woman in our family. And she is buried in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. They had children. I don't know who all the children were. I know they had Dr. Dabbs. He was the first black doctor in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. He was my grandmother's uncle, and he ended up, he moved and opened up practice in Milwaukee. He had, I know, two sisters. One was Granny, who was my great grandmother, and then there was Aunt Sissy, which was, I knew Aunt Sissy very well. I didn't know my grandmother well. I can remember visiting her over at Aunt Mary's house. Aunt Babe was her youngest daughter, and they looked just alike, Aunt Babe and Aunt Granny. I used to see Granny sitting in the rocking chair in the living room. I can see her now sitting in the rocking chair in the living room, and she chews stuff. So she always had some snuff in her mouth. So that means Granny was born probably in 1880, somewhere around like that, 1880, maybe 1870. She was born something like that. My grandmother was born in 1903. I think she was the youngest of all. No, she wasn't the youngest. Aunt Eunice was the youngest of all her sisters. I remember all of Granny. She had Uncle Hill, became a man. He had Uncle Hill, oldest son. No, Uncle Hill was her sister, was her brother. And he had a brother named, oh my God, what was Uncle Hill, Uncle Pawpaw, who married Aunt Odessa. Aunt Eunice. Then you had Aunt Georgia. And I think those are all I can remember of mother, sisters, and brothers, who were the great-grandchildren, who were the grandchildren of Mr. Dabbs, who was the first free man in our family. And like I say, Aunt Eunice, who I knew very well because my father, for a period of time, 1876, Aunt Sissy was 19, and Aunt Sissy was 96 years old. So that means 1880, 76, and she was from 1870. She was Mr. Dabbs had a woman, and then he had another, and one other family. Mother died. He followed his Indian woman and children from the Indian woman, and that's our family here for today. To you again. I'm doing this video is for my brothers, learn about our family today. Hear this, so in God. All the things, the law, but we live by those leave that religion taught us, hell, and remember, he's mighty.